on this episode of Edge of the Web.
I always, in my head, have this little needle of where we are as an agency. Are we going more towards in the analytical side, or are we more creative side? And as we bring on individuals, I try to keep, like, where are we right now and how do I get us back a little bit towards the middle?
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Hear and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, alongside Tom Broadbeck, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
All right, so welcome back to The Edge. Hey, we're broadcasting from Edge Media Studios, located in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. Every week, we bring you the latest trends in digital marketing, as well as marketing influencers from around the planet. You can check out all of our recent shows over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. We're powered by Site Strategics, the title sponsor, your digital marketing pioneers, focusing on the agile marketing methodology. So if you're interested in what that is and what it can be for you as an organization, give us a shout. Go over to Site Strategics, S-I-T-E, strategics.com, and you can jump in, just connect with us and let us know what you think. If you're interested in talking about what we do over here and what we can possibly do for your organization, we'd certainly like the opportunity to be able to serve you. My name is Aaron Sparks. I'm the CEO and host of Edge of the Web. I appreciate everybody jumping into the Facebook stream, as well as, are we on Periscope, Noah? Yeah, all right. We're on Periscope as well, so we certainly appreciate you jumping in there and giving us some commentary and championing the guests that we interview on a regular basis. We have a man in action. Tom is actually out of pocket today, so I'm rolling this thing solo, not silo. That was a Freudian slip right there. But we certainly will be seeing him back in action next week. I'd like to introduce our guest on the show today. It's Paxton Gray, VP of Operations at 97th Floor. Paxton, how are you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I had a mini vacation here, and I'm trying to get my mind right. Being on the beach for a couple of days, even a couple of days, kind of jars you, and now you have to get back into the sea of data, so to speak. How about that? Ba-dum-bum. Aye. Well, Paxton, you've seen the show. We certainly appreciate you coming on board. We've got a number of news articles that we'd like to discuss with you. Ready to go on that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. All right, let's take you through the latest digital marketing news.
I was very excited to start my reportings.
This week's trending topics.
All right. So, rounding up the first spot today, from Barry Levin over at MarTech today, there's a new report. Some ad campaigns are almost entirely robot traffic. Now, check this thing out. If you actually run ads online, you might want to sit down. In some campaigns, more than 90% of the clicks are generated by robot traffic. That's according to the first robot traffic report from New York City-based financial native ad campaign platform, Dianomi. The data comes from hundreds of publishers around the world on the company's ad platform for over the last 6 years. The good news is the firm only detected 32% of robot traffic on ad clicks overall in the past year, down from last year. But as recently as April, that figure was at 85%. So let's scroll down a little bit there, Noah, and I want to show them the pie chart there, if you can see it on screen. Literally 48% are humans, 22% are looking like Google APIs and the like, but we have almost 30% bot traffic coming through. So there's good bots and bad bots in this space. Paxton, what are your thoughts regarding this report? Being in the digital ad space, what do you think about this data?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's always been a problem. We've known about this problem for a long time.
Yep.
But I think the one thing we should not focus on is that line. In some campaigns, more than 90% of the clicks are generated by robot traffic without seeing the actual data. I mean, It could be that it's a very small data set. The ad only got 10 clicks, 9 of which were bots. So the good news, though, is that it's going down, which is great. And unfortunately, it's a really tough problem to tackle. It talks in this article about targeting IP addresses that are known bot sources, which is great, but it's becoming more and more complex. They're Pandabot, to bring up one. It's really hard to filter that out because it's using everybody else's IP address. So, it's kind of a hard thing. And at the very least, like, it's alarming. Yes, you're paying for clicks that aren't real. Yes. But conversions aren't fake. So at least we've got that data, and that's 100% accurate, assuming tracking set up correctly. Yep. And, it still beats the pants off of billboards where, we have a guess as to how many people saw it, and we have no idea what they did after they saw it. So, I think we're still going the right direction. Go ahead.
Are we talking about almost like a sunk cost in ad delivery? Because this is the new norm. We're going to have a good deal of fictional clicks. You're right, absolutely right. The conversions are going to be there, but we may actually have to put some sort of modifier on every campaign to kind of tamp down. We see spam bots in analytics that we're always having to clean out accurate content. Same things applying to the ads and the clicks themselves. So are we going to have like an industry standard spam bot modifier to really affect on all of our click traffic, so we don't have to have such terrible conversion rates, that we can at least have some sort of attribution towards this is cumulative what we're seeing in the space of ads, that at least we can apply a factor of removal to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's something that we need to continue to work towards, getting as close as we can to 100% accuracy. We're never going to get there.
Nope.
I don't believe, at least not within our lifetime. And, there's that saying that goes around in the advertising world where they say, I know that I'm wasting, I don't know who said it, but I know I'm wasting 50% of my ad spend. I just don't know which 50%. I don't know which half. So at least, we're talking about a third, which beats that. But I'd also be interested to know, and it doesn't specify in this article exactly what kind of ads we're talking about here.
Right.
My hunch is that these are display ads purchased in maybe display networks or maybe even one-off deals.
Yep.
I doubt you'd see the same kind of bot traffic from AdWords or even social ads. Who knows? But I think that's probably where a lot of the majority of ad spending is going on anyway, and so I'd like to see the numbers for those segmented out.
Absolutely, no, and that's astute, because we're gonna see different factors. On top of it, we have to have the measurement tools that can activate on those different platforms as well. If we don't have the ability to do reverse IP lookup, if we don't have the ability to sniff out lack of performing interaction to and attribute, this is most likely a bot because there's literally 100% bounce rate from this particular time period to this particular time period. It goes without saying that there's going to be a maturation in this space. Talking about spam bots, TechCrunch from Natasha Lomas, Twitter actually puts a tighter squeeze on spam bots. Now, this is good. This is very good. Twitter actually has announced a range of actions intended to bolster efforts to fight spam and malicious automation, and that's AKA bad bots on its platform. That's what we're talking about, including increased security measures around account verification and sign-up, running a historical audit to catch spammers who sign up when the systems are more lax, or when they were more lax, and taking a more proactive approach to identifying spam activity to reduce the ability to make an impact. It says the new steps build on previously announced measures to fight abuse and new policies on hateful conduct and violent extremism. Now, I'm going to put an asterisk on the extremism, right? Is that Twitter has been actively jumping into filtering content from what they say are extreme positions, right? And we're seeing a lot of politically charged content, whatever side of the aisle you're on, that has been a factor of their filtering and their removal of content, right? So part of this is we got to make sure that who's watching the watchman, so to speak, and making sure that they don't take the opportunity to clean out a little bit more of what they don't want to see coming through under the guise of spam and content filtering. What do you think, Paxton?
Yeah, no, I think it's a tricky, risky business when you get into what they're deciding to filter out. I think it's a good move on their part to tighten the reins a little bit on bots for sure. I've always felt like Twitter is just a bunch of people talking at no one. It's just a lot of empty space filled with just bots. I mean, even if you get into like Hootsuite and social automation, a lot of people who don't even log to their Twitter account and just set up tweets,
right.
just talking in the void. There's two ways, in my opinion, that they're really going to fix this problem. And or at least any social platform can fix the problem of bots and manipulation. One is going to be segmentation. So dividing the audience up into such small segments that it's not worth anyone's time to develop the technology to go in and infiltrate those. You can see that with Slack. We don't have this massive problem of Slack spammers until you get into Slack audiences that are so large that it's worth people to dive into. So if you can segment into smaller groups, that can help prevent that. You can see it on Facebook too.
Yep.
Group sizes are smaller, and it's more difficult for these people to get in and spam it out. And sometimes that does happen, but it's more rare. And then the second would be to pay for the platform. Boy, I would love to pay for a social media platform. Take out the ads, take out tracking, and increase the hurdle to get into the platform just by putting up a paywall.
Yep.
I'd be happy to do that. And I think a lot of people would as well.
I agree. And that goes straight into Facebook as well, right? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. LinkedIn, heck, I would pay just to be a part of LinkedIn. And it's starting to go a little bit downhill. I think they're going to start running into, they already have, but increasingly they're going to run into a lot of the same problems that Twitter has.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, LinkedIn is certainly being exploited now, and they were on the cusp of really becoming a useful asset, and then sponsored ads, and no offense to our previous guests who are straight into the LinkedIn advertising space, but there's good content, good advertising, and there's just the content that has no bearing on whatever you're trying to pursue inside of, and what your interests are inside of LinkedIn. That has to be very carefully delivered, and we're seeing so many crappy ads, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Poor targeting.
Yep.
And just dealing with tracking and privacy issues. I'd love to see a platform that just gives us the option of paying for it ourselves and not relying on sponsors.
Absolutely. Here. Let's start that march. Let's pay for that space. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a pretty intense message coming from Google, from Ginny Marvin. Check this out. This is over at Search Engine Land. Google is retiring the AdWords and DoubleClick brands in a major rebranding effort it's aimed at simplification. So Google Ads, Google Marketing Platform, Google Ad Manager. After 18 and 22 years, respectively, the AdWords and DoubleClick brands will soon cease to be. I mean, this is pretty big. As part of the comprehensive effort to streamline its offerings, Google's flagship advertising products are getting new names and reorganizing to better reflect the current capabilities and where the company sees trajectories for growth. So check this out. Along with the rebranding, Google is also introducing some new solutions that further push towards simplifying its advertising offerings. So Google AdWords is now Google Ads. DoubleClick, the advertising products, and Google Analytics 360 suite are now under the brand Google Marketing Platform. That's Google Analytics 360. I mean, they just launched this thing 2 years ago.
Yeah.
DoubleClick for publishers and DoubleClick Ad Exchange are integrated into the new unified platform called Google Ad Manager. So we have Google Ads, we have Google Marketing Platform, and Google Ad Manager. So while what's under the hood of the product, the products haven't changed dramatically. Rather, this is they're probably primarily changing the names to be able to make it more simplified and more concerted towards what they're delivering in these different spaces. So gone is DoubleClick and Google AdWords. What do you think? Should we do a bit of rest in peace? I mean, for the people that have had the AdWords tattoos for a long time, my gosh.
Yeah. No, it's big in terms of their branding for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not a whole lot of change in terms of functionality. I've always found Google's marketing to be interesting. I feel like they move a lot. It probably doesn't take a whole lot to make things move, which I think is part of what helps them be innovative. But it also causes there to be a lot of kind of a lack of unity. Some products come out and they're a little bit half baked because I think they're just trying to innovate, which kudos to them for doing that. But compared to a company like Apple, every single marketing message is probably raked over the coals before it goes out to the public, and I think. I don't think it really matters in terms of. I don't think this move alone is gonna cause people to start spending more money on Google. The fact that you talk to someone who works in PPC, and it's a big deal to get like a Google rep. Basically,
yes.
it's a big deal to get somebody from Google to help you give them your money.
Yep.
That I think shows that there's a little bit of problem with their product offering, that it's a little bit, I don't know, just seems a little strange to me. So yeah, hopefully they're, continue to make more steps towards simplifying it and making it more accessible, easier for people to use. And we'll continue to see that develop. That's, I think, going to make the biggest change to their bottom line.
No, you're right. You're right. And your point about the elusiveness of just connection with Google in these different spaces. I mean, it's important to be able to have that next step of service from them, because it's been difficult over the years to be able to get a clear line of sight. And obviously, they've removed themselves from direct communication on a number of platforms because of the free offering that it is. But in the ad spend, in the ad manager's platform, I mean, we really do need support. We need to be able to tap somebody on the shoulder. And if you have to be a partner to be able to do that, fantastic.
I'd love to see. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to see all of the articles, all the information that we're talking about on the show each and every week, sign up for the newsletter. You can join free of charge, obviously. Just text to the number 22828. Don't do it when you're driving. The word Edge Talk, and you can actually start the sign-up procedure right there. We're sending out a good deal of information about the show, who we talk to, and who we're going to be talking to next. So we would certainly appreciate your help in joining us in the Edge Talk country, and give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing and who you'd like to hear us interview as well. So you can drop in over at edgeofthewebradio.com as well and sign up right there. So with that, you know what? I'd like to take you through the next step in our journey. Let's deep dive with today's featured guest.
Now it's time for Edge of the Web featured interview with Paxton Gray, Director of Marketing Operations with 97th Floor.
Deep voice guy introduction. How about that, sir?
Great.
All right. Hey, for all our audience on audio as well as live streaming, let me introduce you to Paxton Gray. He's the VP of Operations at 97th Floor, where he leads strategy formation. Paxton actually has more than 11 years of combined digital marketing experience and has worked with startups, multi-million-dollar B2B organizations, and everything in between. Paxton, we were talking a little bit off air before the show. Why don't you give your backstory the way you told it?
Yeah, happy to. So about 11 years ago, I started working for a company that built and hosted websites, and my job was to help their clients then figure out what to do with those sites, how to get people in and convert, how could they make their help their business make money. And that's kind of where I got I dipped my toe into SEO. It was obviously a different game back then. And then about 5 years ago, I started working for my current company, which is an agency called 97th Floor. Mm-hmm. I came on pretty near. It wasn't. We've been around for 13 years now, but back 5 years ago, we were still pretty small. And I started as a marketer, working for our clients, kind of doing the legwork on a lot of our campaigns, working in SEO and content marketing primarily, mm-hmm. As well as a little bit of social. And then I just, worked my butt off and kind of continued to add to the agency and move up in my position. And now I am the vice president of operations. I oversee the structure of the agency, make sure that we get the right people in. So I do hiring, make sure they're doing the right things, mm-hmm. so that we can do amazing work for our clients and hit results. Yeah, I think I skipped over something there, but that
No, it's
should
all right.
about
So,
cover it.
well,
Yeah.
it kind of tees up a bit of the conversation I want to have with you. You came in as kind of an entry point marketer into what particular skill set did you kind of jump into the space?
SEO and content marketing.
Okay.
So basically organic campaigns. So
Very good.
that involved, search organic as well as social organic.
All right. So you got into that space and you did the hard slog, and you went through a lot of meta content, a lot of H1 optimizations, a lot of titles. Yep. You went through that process and you started to learn other disciplines as other disciplines really started to form inside of digital marketing. And like we said, like we were talking about prior to the show, there's so many different tactics now in digital marketing. You started to learn, hey, I gotta learn all these. But as you got into a management space, you're also in the space of applying and holding people accountable to the roles that they're fulfilling, right? So at a point in time, the digital marketer in you has to be able to acclimate and learn all these different spaces just to be able to manage them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I'm not going to be an expert at everything that we offer. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that's reasonable to expect that from anybody, because there's so much and it changes so frequently. But I have to stay on top of what's happening. And a lot of, I'd say the key of my responsibility involves finding the right people that are a good fit for, I have a few key criteria, mm-hmm. And then making the expectations clear about what I expect from them. And then beyond that, they can, kind of manage themselves tactically. Mm-hmm. We hire people who typically are just very hungry, very eager to learn more and change and evolve. And so that allows me to kind of just focus on what is it we're working on, what are the ultimate goals for this contract, and then I can let them, and I have some people that are specialists that help us stay sharp. Mm-hmm. I let them worry about the specific tactics and how we're going to get there, and we just focus on the overall goal that we're trying to achieve. And then I'll kind of get more involved if it needs to be, and yeah, that's kind of how I run that. We use a lot of different software and tactics to check in and make sure that people are hitting their goals, mm-hmm. And doing those right things. So it's a big job, where I think we're at about a little under 80 people now. So, I can't keep my finger on the pulse of every single person and all their details. So I have a lot of software that helps me with that. We have reporting once a week that I receive where I get the status of each of our goals that we're trying to hit. Oh, right. And then, I'll do one-on-ones with, if I determine that somebody needs a little bit of help, we'll get more involved and more granular.
Very good. Very good. Well, I need to take a break real quick and talk about our title sponsor here. Site Strategics is proud to be able to be the title sponsor of Edge of the Web, and we wanted to share with our listeners a special offer on the show. We constantly roll out digital marketing strategies, and clients want to know what the return on investment is and what they can be for the digital strategy that we're talking about right now. So would you like to discover your marketing ROI? Why not have a second opinion to check out how your investment is paying off? We're offering a 30% discount on the Digital Marketing ROI Report. You learn your digital strengths, weaknesses, and threats. We deliver a comprehensive breakdown, focus on SEO, content marketing, social media, SEM, allowing the team here at Site Strategics to be able to get a full insight into the areas for opportunity and growth. Simply go to the URL, edgeofthewebradio.com/ROI. Put your information in there. There's no obligation, and we can get the conversation started about what could be your potential digital marketing analysis and steps towards your success. So there's our gratuitous plug, Paxton. Sorry to have to break our conversation, but let's get back in.
Great.
Let's get back into it because you're on the cusp of goal-oriented marketing. Now, every marketing should have a goal. And out of those goals should be objectives. Out of those objectives should be strategies. And out of those strategies should be tactics, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So there's the ghost breakdown of a marketing execution. You, as we talked before air, as well as through our intake process, you wanted to talk about a particular area of organizational barriers, and that's the siloed concept. Marketers that are siloed in nature, they don't share, they don't understand the overarching goals and execution, and on top of that, not sharing with individual other marketing individuals. That's the demise of an agency, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Siloing is a huge problem, and it's not just agency either. It's our entire industry. There are times when I've spoken at conferences that are dedicated to SEO, and I want to talk about content, and they say, "No, these aren't content marketers. These are SEO." And I'm like, "What are you optimizing? Right? Like, you're optimizing content,
right?
So you should know about content." And as we go forward, this industry, digital marketing specifically, is getting such a huge influx of talent coming in, which is great, fantastic, and but it's going to get so big that we're going to start to see it fragmenting even further. And I think it's going to cause a lot of problems, in my opinion. So anything we can do to break down the silos and allow people to understand the goals, the difficulties of different disciplines within digital marketing, the better.
No, absolutely. Well said. Where do you think the mentality of siloed marketing has come from?
I think it's a couple of different issues. One issue is that there's just so much information that I think we tend to get overwhelmed. So if our main job is paid, for example, there's so much to learn in paid. I mean, many different platforms, many different strategies, and then you add in geofencing and retargeting, and it could just go on, and you could just spend all your day learning new things. So then to add on top of that, hey, learn SEO, learn social, learn these other things, learn analytics. That can be difficult to ask of somebody. Two, I think somebody tends to just focus on what they're being paid to do. So if they view, if their main job responsibility is I'm an SEO, to get them to learn stuff that they're not being paid to do is also quite difficult. And I think that's true for all of us. We all tend to focus on what it is we're paid to do and what our main objectives are. And then third would be the incentives. If you've got somebody who is just doing their job for the job, or they don't really necessarily care about the larger goal, they just care about their objectives and goals, what's the incentive for them to cross into another category and work with people to achieve a bigger objective if it doesn't necessarily help them in that moment? So I think all of those things can be combated in different ways, but the overarching solution to those problems, I think, are hiring within an organization people that just care and want to be part of a larger group and care about large objectives, even if it doesn't necessarily directly immediately benefit them, because honestly, ultimately, it does benefit them in the long term. So maybe people who are able to understand their role in more of the long-term picture instead of just the immediate. So just having people with the right attitude can really just break down those barriers without anything having to happen within management or organization. Just getting the right people in the door is huge.
Oh, that's step number one. Absolutely. But that second point that you brought up, it really got me thinking in the regards of accountability and organizations that have any, whatever their management process is, holding people accountable to the task, right, as opposed to the goal. So if it's just task, and that's where you're going, is that, okay, if this guy's an SEO, this lady's an SEO, then that's the metric of performance of that role, is how well they do in that space. It doesn't behoove them to look outside of that space because they have to get those jobs, get those tasks done and execute. So it's really about a maturation of a digital marketing organization, that they really start looking at goals of a website, more importantly, goals of an organization that they're working for. So the brain trust that's really inside of a digital marketing agency can really start working together and combine efforts to reach that goal. But if the operations side of things is just looking at task completion, right, then there's no space to be able to look at meshing different personalities and meshing different talents together to strive for that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sent for 3 years ago, I think, or maybe 4 years ago, we started switching our contracts from deliverable-based engagements to goal-based engagements. So we'd say, what do you want to achieve in this quarter or within this year, and trying to get our organization to become more of a partner rather than fulfillment. That has really helped us a lot because it allows us to employ many different tactics to achieve whatever the goal as stated is. Because if the goal is just pure conversions, there's lots of different things we can employ to help hit that goal. And that allows us to rely on the expertise of our people to make those calls and build out those campaigns. And something that I think we've learned now, even evolved past that, is understanding the role and the goal of the organization from a more societal standpoint, or what is the ultimate goal of the organization? Not just like what are their sales numbers or what do they want to be doing in 5 years, but why do they exist as a business?
Oh, wow.
That allows us to understand, what should these ads look like? Knowing, we've got to hit these sales goals, and to hit that sales goal, we could create 20 different possible ads, but only a small percentage of those ads are actually going to be in line with the nature of the business. Why do they exist as a business?
There it is.
That's going to allow all of our stuff to be in line and really help us become a partner. And I think that's true. No matter what you're working on, not just looking at the goal from the number standpoint, but also looking at why are we even doing this? And then that's going to allow people to really get in line and within an organization too. Like we try to help our employees know why we exist as a business, and that helps get everybody on the same page, and we're all working towards the same goal. So I think that's important no matter what organization it is.
Well, you hit upon it, and it is that Simon Sinek golden circle: get to the why of an organization, so you know what the personality is, what the mission is, why that company's passionate about what they do. And if you don't get in there, there's no way to allow that mission or that vision to permeate the ads. But if you get it and you establish it and you get confirmation from the client, one, you're building huge trust with the client because you get them. But on top of it, you're aligned with the messaging that you're delivering, and those messages are obviously going to be more effective because you're targeting a brand alignment as opposed to anything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so getting back to Silo. Sorry, we kind of went in a rabbit hole there.
Oh, that was good. I like that.
But the silos here, how do you go about breaking silos? Because we may be talking, and a number of agency owners may be listening, and they may be suffering from the same experience that you've gotten through in communication and sharing of goals and techniques. How do you break down a siloed organization?
For agencies specifically, I think it's important. Well, I don't know if I have the silver bullet here, but what we've done with success is we've broken up our agency into teams that are led by campaign managers. So the campaign manager is responsible for the overall campaign structure, strategy, as well as communication. And then within that team led by the campaign manager is our marketers, both organic and paid, writers and designers. So that allows them to, that's who they spend their time with. They spend their time with their team. They go out to lunch with their team. They do activities with their team. They're on all the phone calls together as a team. So it's not like the designers are hanging out together and the PPC marketers are alone off doing their thing and sitting together. We think proximity is really important. Shared goals and tasks and challenges are really important to creating that unification. And then it becomes more of a situation where, their true team is whatever the team of that campaign manager is. And so, their closer friends are the people that they work together day by day, not based off of their strength or their backgrounds or their talents, but based off rather, their objectives. So, we've got an organic marketer sits next to our writer every single day, and they can just turn and chat about whatever it is they're working on. That's really helped. We used to have a system where, we had, here are all the writers over here are all the designers over here, the marketers over here. The marketers will order something from the writers or the designers for whatever campaign they're putting together. And it just it really reinforced that silo. Since breaking that down, we've found a lot of really cool places where the different disciplines can overlap, and we can get big wins from that. One of those being paid, for example. You go to any conference that talks about PPC, and they talk a lot about the strategy, retargeting, geofencing, all of that segmenting and strategy that goes into placing ads. And that's great, and that's powerful. But you don't hear a whole lot about what the ads actually look like, and that effect that it has on conversion rate or the overall goals. And so, I think in general, a lot of people who work in paid tend to undervalue the actual ad itself and then overvalue strategy. I think they're both very valuable, but they're a little bit closer to even. So because we have our designer sitting right next to our paid team or our paid people, that allows them to say, hey, I know you're doing this ad. Let me design it. Let me take a crack at this. And then we've seen huge results from just getting someone with a design eye to do creative instead of, because before we had paid people that were just kind of pulling creative that we got from the client, or they were kind of putting together their own stuff. Right. But it was more about the strategy. But as soon as we got the creative people in, boom, it's crazy. It took off like gangbusters. And there's more stories like that where just overlapping different disciplines. We're getting our writers way more involved in SEO and some of the more technical aspects, and we've seen huge returns on that. And getting them to do TF-IDF analysis alone has been a little bit of a hurdle to go over, but now that we're past that, they can just write articles instantly that are going to rank super well.
Oh, wow.
It's been great.
Well, what you're doing is you're finding, just with that little bit of overlap, you're finding you might want to call it native knowledge gems that are given an opportunity to just pop out. We talk about this from a megamind concept. If you get individuals in a room, something else comes out of that shared experience. But if you actually have them kind of coexisting together and rubbing elbows and being able to share insights in a non-formal way, one, you're getting almost like by osmosis, you're getting knowledge transfer permeating the membrane of the respective talents. But on top of it, if we're in an analytic lane, or if we're in a paid lane, or if we're in a content lane, right? You have such native knowledge that hasn't been given the opportunity to be able to even be expressed. And now you're kind of breaking those barriers down from a sociological standpoint, and it's bound to be able to happen. So really, it's just getting people in the room and talking through things and allowing that coexistence to really foster some new techniques and tactics, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we get every single member of the team involved in every phone call, even if the particular contract doesn't involve design. Our designer's there. Because we want them to pipe in and say, hey, you know what? I think this might be a good idea. Even though this has nothing to do with design, I just think from my perspective, this would be a good. And hopefully it creates some conflict too. Hopefully these people have different ideas of how things could be done. And I want there to be a little bit of fighting about ways things should be executed, with the understanding that everyone is working on the same team and towards the same goals, and they care about each other. There should be a healthy amount of conflict, I think, as those strategies put together, with people coming from very different backgrounds. Yeah,
we interviewed the author of Radical Candor a while back, and having that candor in the office, respectful candor, really kind of clears the BS out of the way and gives you the ability to have each other's back and trust each other, right? But also have a bit of one-upmanship of, hey, we're able to help you here in this particular campaign, but oh wow, see what we were able to do here. So you have that competitive space that you can open up. But
it's interesting in terms of competitiveness. I have found, I've been hiring people here at 97th Floor for the past three or 4 years, and without fail, every single time when I hire people in groups, it almost always works better. And I think it's because they come on together and they look at someone else and say, I'm gonna go faster than them.
Oh wow.
I want to beat them. It's like a healthy amount of competition, but there's some competition. Whereas when you come on alone, you have no one to compare yourself to.
Right.
They do well, but I just love seeing people come on in groups because they almost always just hit the ground running super fast.
That's the only thing. Boot camp is like, all right, look to your left, look to your right. 2 of those people will not be here in 90 days. Put the fear of God. But no, you're right. I think what you're tapping into
not
is
quite that extreme.
All right, fine. But you're tapping into that sociological touch base and that connection is that digital marketing is a challenge because it's new territory all the time. And it utilizes left brain and right brain more so than almost any industry. Now, I'm a bit biased, but you need to be able to share, to be able to get affirmation, and also be able to spawn thoughts off of other people in different perspectives. And it's almost like a game of, I don't say leapfrog, but you're assisting each other by getting to a goal with complementary concepts and ideas, but also challenging each other at the same time, right?
Yep, absolutely. Regarding your comment about left brain and right brain, I always, in my head, have this little needle of where we are as an agency. Are we going more towards in the analytical side, or are we more creative side? And as we bring on individuals, I try to keep, like, where are we right now, and how do I get us back a little bit towards the middle? Are we a little more analytical? I try to start finding people that are a little more on the creative side, or are they a little more creative? We need to, we need the statisticians in. So we're always trying to find that balance, just as a culture of Nice Temp 4, and then each individual team. Right. Where do we sit on that spectrum, trying to get the two to work together?
Well, let me ask you this to further that thought is, do you find that it's easier for right brain is creative, correct? And left brain is analytical, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. All right. I was getting mixed up. Sure.
Well, let's not even do that. Say, do you find that creative types have the ability to transition more be able to acclimate themselves more to the analytical side, or do you find at the more analytically minded can play in the creative space more? And not to piss anybody off.
That's a good question. Yeah. I found that people who sit on the analytical side have a really tough time, I think, getting into the creative side. And then people who are sitting on the creative side, I think, maybe have a little bit easier time getting into the analytics. But I think within an organization, they have a tough time sometimes of getting into the organization if it's a more analytical organization.
Got it.
Because I think people who are on the analytical side tend to, force out a little bit of the people who just sit on the creative side and they're not worried about the numbers necessarily. And the analytical people want to be worried about numbers and kind of don't like working with people who aren't worried about numbers.
How can you be effective if you can't measure it? Right.
Right. So you have to, protect those, the creative side thinking individuals, help them, communicate value and show how things are working, that they get it, but allow them to, do the creative thing. And that's, I think, how you get those two to play together. But in my experience, it's been hard to get people who are on the analytical side to get thinking more creatively.
Got it. Well, that brings us to another key concept and that's education inside of a digital marketing agency. And we're staying inside of this because this is the model that obviously our audience wants to understand. So in all of these different digital marketing tactics and skill sets, all right. You can only learn so much from if you do have an open environment where you're sitting right next to somebody that's maybe in a different skill or different digital tactic. Obviously you're going to be able to learn from them, but the bridge is to have an understanding and a continual intake of education. Do you find that is marketing education done company-wide, or are there smaller groups that you can actually have for training and education that help break down barriers of understanding when it gets down to these core disciplines?
Yeah. So we have a number of things to help with that. First of all, everyone from each discipline, they meet together once a week to go over, what's happening in the industry from their perspective. That allows them to stay sharp just within paid. So we'll get all the paid marketers together, we'll get all the SEOs together, we'll get all the writers together, and they'll talk about what's happening in their industry. And the way we do that is often they'll go round robin. They'll be led by somebody with a lot of experience, and they'll teach lessons, and they'll kind of go round robin in the group. And then each of our teams, individual, which again are made up of people from different disciplines, will meet together on a regular basis, sometimes once a week, sometimes every other week, where they will also share a lesson and say, here's what's going on in the paid world for everyone, just so you know. And that allows people to find out what's going on. We also have, we kind of put this on pause for a little bit. Every once in a while, we'll kick this up again, but we do gems. And it's a little mini competition of whoever brings the best update or the coolest method or tactic wins an award, a prize. And so that allows people to, one, it incentivizes them to find stuff, to be reading, to research and test stuff. And then two, it's a really good forum for everyone to absorb new tactics and new methods. And then once a year, I hate to even say this, we haven't been public about this because of the possible bad perception, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Go for it.
Hopefully no one gets mad at me. Once a year, we do what we call Black Hat Day. And this is going to be our fourth one. We do it every October, right before Halloween. And we meet together in our conference room. October. So we meet together in our conference room. We turn all the lights off except for the middle spotlight. So it's like an evil villain room. And we buy black hats. That's where these came from.
Oh, wow.
And what we do is we share just like a really sneaky trick. It's nothing we would ever do at Night 7th Floor. But we want people to be aware of like what is possible. So you can at least know what maybe a competitor is doing that's below board, right? And we make this huge deal. It's a whole company party. Everyone gets involved, and we have huge prizes, like they're like $500 prizes for whoever has the best black hat tactic or trip. And this isn't just specific to SEO. This is designers. Like one year, we had a designer who, again, we never put this into practice. This is just to know. But like one designer put together a little stencil to use in Photoshop that would overlay on stock images and remove watermarks.
Oh, wow.
So obviously we wouldn't use that ever, but it was just like, cool, like interesting. I never thought about that as a marketer, or as a writer. I never thought about that. So we never use it, but it just allows people to understand what's going on in other people's worlds.
Yeah.
What are they thinking about? What are some of the difficulties that they're trying to overcome? And here's some black hat ways to do it that we would never employ. But it allows you to start thinking creatively about some of the problems that we're facing, and think what are some weird ways that we could overcome this or meet these objectives that maybe we haven't thought about before. So it really gets the juices flowing. And it's a fun thing. It makes a lot of unity here at Night 7th Floor, and then everyone gets a hat every year.
That's cool. And in another space, just from an HR standpoint and an employee motivation standpoint, you're giving the ability to all the employees to be able to step up, be able to showcase their talent, but more importantly, their insight and their creativity of just from a thought leadership standpoint. So you have to groom and allow for the kind of the immersion or the emergence of some stars inside of your organization. And what you're doing is creating that platform in which it's all in good fun, but you can really give them that space to be able to, showcase what they know and who they are, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I dig it.
Anything you can do. Giving those people a chance to shine, I think, is really important. So giving people a public forum like that to share, what they've done and let people say, ooh, wow, that's so awesome. That's where that's how, people get promoted, not necessarily from Black Hat Day, but just, being loud and innovating and adding to what we're doing here. That's who moves up the ranks quickly at Night 7th Floor.
No, that's great. Well, let me ask you this about education, because we're still in this education space. What have you done when you've received pushback from employees who don't feel that education to be necessary? Maybe you've got somebody who's a bit jaded towards content marketing from an SEO standpoint. God knows why they would be. But what do you do from that standpoint who with an employee as opposed to just jettisoning them? But what do you do to be able to if they're pushing back on that education space, what do you do with them? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's interesting.
From a, and let me color it a different way. Is that you're going to have individual. I mean, the industries rife with individuals that are constantly recycling top 10 lists. They're constantly looking for their own space of stardom, and whenever they're in their particular discipline, they may think they've got everything figured out. And I mean, it's a good deal juvenile, but at the same time, I mean, everybody's a social media manager. Everybody is a content whiz. So you got to kind of break them of that concept that you don't know it all. But if they have this type of hubris, what do you do with them?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I could see that coming up. You know, I don't think it's necessarily always going to be someone who has a bad attitude, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they're just overwhelmed and they feel like they have so much already that they have to deal with. How can they possibly learn something new? Right. I think that's an understandable feeling to have. We do a book club here, and we read a different book every month and talk about how it affects our lives and work. And we just finished reading a book called Never Split the Difference. You heard of that?
No, not yet.
So I check it out. It's really good. It's about it's written by a guy who worked for the FBI as a hostage negotiator for a long time. And he kind of takes some of the principles that he's learned negotiating into the business world. And one of the principles that he talks about is trying to first understand what are the objectives of the person that you're working with, and then two, painting a picture for them in which they achieve their objectives. So working with that individual who maybe doesn't want to learn more, I think it's important to know what motivates them. Where do they see themselves in 5 years? Where are they going? Why are they even here? Yeah. What are they working towards? And then hopefully education can help them achieve their goals. So, if they're like, I want to be the CMO at Apple someday. And you can say, great, let me tell you why learning this is going to help you. It's going to be one step in helping you achieve that goal. And I think if you have their goals in mind and you are sincere in your desire to help them achieve their goals, I think you can get them to learn more. You just have to paint that picture for them and spend a lot of time painting that picture.
Yeah, well said. Now that's and that gets back to the employer's role in success of every individual is being able to know where they are and what challenges they're facing. If they have some self-imposed challenges, it's not enough just to put them on an HR track and measure them by the numbers, and if they are not performing, then hasta la vista. You've got to be able to nurture this and giving experience from different individuals and be able to foster relationships, but also foster innovation. Those are spaces that break the silo, just like you're talking about. But man, that's new country. That is new space that agencies have, by and large, have not executed on.
Yeah, it's hard. We were talking before the phone call about how our industry is growing and changing so much, and it's maturing, and there are a lot of problems that we're trying to solve that haven't really been solved before. They have in other industries that are somewhat similar, so we can learn some lessons from those industries, but they're not exactly the same problems. And so that's what I find we got to do every single day is just like solve new problems that we haven't run into before, given our unique structure. And it's fun. It's fun. It's new puzzles every day. But working with these individuals, that's the most satisfying part of my job personally is getting to know the people that we work with and really getting to know who they are and what it is they want out of just their life. Because I really cared. Like for me, my purpose of being here is helping people achieve what they want in their life. There was an article I read a while ago about this guy at Google who, at the age of 32, I believe, he was diagnosed with colon cancer, and he doesn't have a lot of time left to live. And so that really impacted me because he has a couple little kids. I have a couple little kids myself, and I kind of put myself in his shoes and thought, all this stressing that we're doing, like why are we doing this? To me, it's a means to an end, which is living a good life, fulfilling life. And so that's what I want for all the people that I work with. And I got to know what it is that motivates them. What do they want out of their life? What will they have to do during their life so that when they're on their deathbed, they'll be satisfied and happy? What will they have to do to get to that point? And so I want to be one part in their journey of getting to that point. I want to facilitate that as best I can. And that's true for not just employees of 974, but also clients. That's the reason they're doing business, right? Is to get to that point, to achieve what they want. And so understanding that for everyone that we work with, and that's for agencies, that's a huge tip there, is just understanding, we know what business goals are, but like, what are your goals? And how do we help you with that outside of just hitting your sales goals? Like, what do we do to help further you along in your career? How can we assist you in that? I think that's a true partner, and that's a true friend. Honestly, that's why we're here. I think together is to help each other achieve that.
It's beautiful, and unfortunately, it's a rarity that organizations get to that level of responsibility, because that's absolutely the space where more businesses need to be, is being able to help their employees and help the organizations they work with meet those non-business goals of life satisfaction and quality of life. And I mean, if you're not looking at, it's about perspective. If you're not looking at those larger factors, right, you're going to be continually focused on the small battles and making them so big that you're not seeing anything except for the challenge. And that's no way to live a life, right?
Exactly. I mean, and that's why people get burnt out in agencies, is because they're focused on those little tiny battles and fires, and they can't see anything else, Oh, yeah. And you can't survive. Honestly, you're going to get burnt out real fast if that's all you see. Yeah. And a lot of this is due to Chris Bennett, our CEO, and Wayne Slight, our COO. The two of them, that is their, the main objective. That's why they started this company, and what motivates them. They do tons of charity work and giving back. And even with our employees, sometimes they want to start their own business, and they'll invest and help them get started in that new business. And I think that desire permeates the organization. So, it was from them that I learned that, and hopefully I spread it on to other people in the organization. And it just makes it a unique place to work, and helps us do good work with good people.
No, that's great to hear. So we certainly applaud you in that space, because you don't hear that regularly of administration and organization that cares that space. I mean, you can certainly hear a lot of flippant and tepid commitments to that, but I hear it's true coming out of your voice, and I think it's truly authentic, and it certainly does impress me about your organization and agency. Anything else that you want to talk about from a silo concept or employee engagement in a digital marketing space? Any other final thoughts on that vein?
I think my last point would just be, if you're running an organization where there's silos, or where you find yourself in a silo, we live in a really unique time. There are so many possibilities out there, and the internet is it's still the wild, wild west. There's so many things you can do. So I just say, go for it. If something's holding you back, if you want to learn something else, just do it. And if you want to break down silos in an organization, help them get excited, help them understand that it's still the wild, wild west. They can achieve so many cool, amazing things if they just broaden their perspective. So working on either painting that picture for people who want to stay within silos, or if you're in a silo yourself, just get excited and let that excitement help you break out of that silo. Because there's no reason to stick within a silo if that's not what you want.
Well, a lot of people may not even know they're in a silo, and that's probably sometimes they're in an echo chamber. If you go to a conference, go sit in on a couple things that seem like they have nothing to do with you. Broaden your perspective. I think that's good. Yeah, good point there. Absolutely. Well, to wrap up, Paxton, we always ask of our guests, what really bugs you in your industry right now?
To stay on theme, that silo thing bugs me. I work for a nonprofit organization, and we put together conferences every month, and then an annual large conference. And I always get people that they work within one thing and they say, this has nothing to do with me. I don't want to hear about this, or I don't want to go to that. I say, just try it, just taste it, try, go to something else. That kind of bugs me a little bit. And unfortunately, I get it though. I get the desire. I understand. You don't want to waste your time on stuff. It's boring if you don't do it sometimes. I get that, but any effort to be put towards just learning something else is going to be time well spent.
No, excellent. All right. Conversely, what excites you about the industry?
I kind of just, made this point already, but anything is possible. We can really do so many really cool things that have never been done before. And I find that just really exciting. I had an experience where one of my marketers reached out. They were doing some kind of SEO work, and they had built this partnership with this company. And they said, hey, we really like you. Would you mind going and covering this conference for us in New York? And they paid for him to fly to New York and cover this conference. And they paid for his hotel and flew him back. And it's just like, whoever thought that would be possible? It's just like a cool, weird connection. And that's what the internet is. It's just connecting with other humans. There's so many cool possibilities out there. You can't work in this industry and not be excited. If you're not, it's because you're just, you maybe that's the sign. Maybe if you're not excited about what we're doing, maybe that's a sign that you're siloed.
Siloed or find your passion, because if you're not passionate about your skill sets and increasing your skill sets, but you know what? More and more we interview guests that started one place and ended up in a whole another place. You started with SEO. Now you're the VP of operations at an agency. The things change and the opportunities are all around us. This is a very exciting industry because things are moving so quickly, but you can jump cars on the train and be able to get into another space that you may have never even known that you could, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, the mission here is try something else. Go to a different conference that's not inside your wheelhouse and learn something new. Try it. You may like it, right?
Yeah. Test stuff out.
All right. So we found out a fun fact with you. And how was playing a guitar with Bill Clinton?
Yeah. So I play guitar for him. I was in a group as a student. I took guitar for a long time. Yep. And we were invited out to Washington, D.C., and we played in a little concert.
Cool.
That Bill Clinton was the main kind of person in that.
I misread that because I really thought that you had a jam session.
That would be That would be even cooler. He plays saxophone. And,
yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, wrapping up, Paxton, is there anything that we could promote for you today?
Yeah. I'll be speaking out in Washington, D.C. on the 24th, and Tampa on the 8th at the Digital Summit conference tour. And also, if there's anybody listening in Utah, we've got a conference coming up for DMC on August 24th. Get tickets. It's going to be seriously the best conference that we've ever done. We've got the best lineup so far. So.
Very cool.
Those two things. And then obviously 97th Floor. It's the best company I've ever worked for, and life-changing. So, I'd love to promote those three things.
Absolutely. I got to ask before we wrap up, where did 97th Floor come from? Are you guys on the 97th floor?
Yeah, so 13 years ago, Chris Bennett started just kind of by himself, and he really wanted to separate himself from Utah and have a company with that LA and New York vibe. And he was going to call it the 100th floor, I believe. And then his wife, Trisha, said 97 sounds way better, which I totally agree. I'm so super glad she said that. So it's just kind of an arbitrary number just for a cool New York, LA vibe. And now we actually have an office out in San Francisco. So we're not just a Utah bound anymore.
Excellent. Well, I think that is a cool name, and kudos to your CEO for jumping in there. All right, so for all of our audience, we want to suggest that you follow Paxton over on Twitter, Paxton Gray, LinkedIn, Paxton Gray, Instagram, Paxton Gray. So you got all those going. Any final thoughts for our audience here, Paxton?
Nope, just go out, break stuff, enjoy. Life's too short to not have fun. So if you're not having fun, start having it.
Well said, sir. Well said. Well, we really thank you for your time today and appreciate the insight. And we challenge businesses and C-levels that aren't doing that. Step in and mirror what 97th Floor is doing to be able to break those silos, because it can be the death of an organization if you don't have that transfer of knowledge. Thanks so much for your time today, Paxton. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
This is fun.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks to everybody listening to edgeofthewebradio.com and certainly the live stream and everything that we're broadcasting out of here. Special thank you to our colleagues at Site Strategics, especially our guest, Paxton Gray. Be sure to check out all the must-see videos and all the insider information over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. Be sure to rate and review our iTunes and different spaces in which our broadcast is being mentioned, because we certainly appreciate our audience feedback. And let us know if you want us to interview somebody else in the digital marketing space. So Aaron Sparks speaking for Tom Broadbeck as well. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next week. Do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. Bye-bye.